From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Well, it's a pleasure for me to be here speaking with you, and I look forward to learning more about Kuchipudi and about your background. First, maybe you could tell us a little bit about this classical dance form from India?
Sure. Kuchipudi is one of 8 classical styles of India, and it comes from a southeastern state called Andhra Pradesh. And Kuchipudi gets its name from a village by the name Kuchipudi, which is located in Andhra. And Kuchipudi also, another characteristic feature about Kuchipudi is that it was started by an all-male group of dancers, or rather one man by the name of Siddhendra Yogi, who took a group of young Brahmin boys and started teaching them the Kuchipudi as we know it today, which is about 500 years old. Kuchipudi otherwise can be traced back all the way to well over 2,000 years ago, where and we can say this only because we have evidence from temple sculptures and also other evidence of thriving classical Indian dance and music culture in India from mural paintings in caves, as well as beautiful sculptures of dancers in temples. So even though we know that Kuchipudi originated somewhere before around 2,000 years ago, the Kuchipudi that we say that we practice today comes from the village of Kuchipudi, which was founded by Siddhendra Yogi in this village called Kuchipudi. I can go on, but
I'm curious to know, you said there are 8 different classical forms. What is distinctive about the Kuchipudi as opposed to these other?
You know, all 8 Indian classical dance styles draw their inspiration from the same text called the Natya Shastra, and the Natya Shastra is very wide in its scope. It's and it covers chapters. There are chapters dedicated to music and dance. It's a 36-chapter book, which covers all aspects of performance art. And so all 8 Indian classical styles draw their inspiration from this text. However, each of these styles developed and interpreted dance based on their own regional cultural influences. And just as each of the states in India are pretty different culturally, the dance forms reflect that. So Kuchipudi, as we practice it today, as I said before, came from what Siddhendra Yogi developed for 500 years ago. And because it was an all-male dance form up until 75 years ago, it tends to be a more vigorous dance form relative to, say, Bharatanatyam and Odissi, which are its neighboring dance forms. The other interesting characteristic trait of Kuchipudi is that it's got 3, I'm getting very technical here. It sits between Tamil Nadu and Orissa in India, and it's a perfect amalgamation of those 2 styles. For example, Odissi is a very fluid dance form. It literally feels like the dance flows from one sculpturesque pose to another in movement. And contrasting that, Bharatanatyam, which is from Tamil Nadu, is a very rigid, geometrical dance form where it's highly classical, but they draw geometric shapes in space through dance. And Kuchipudi sits somewhere between these two, where it's fluid, at the same time it's quite structured as well. That's the best way I can describe the movement. And of course the other characteristic feature is a lot of the poetry and the lyrics that we use for Kuchipudi dance comes from the poets written in the language Telugu. So a lot of the dances are choreographed to poetry written by Telugu or Sanskrit, whereas the other forms use other languages that are more common in their regions.
It's also a storytelling format, in a sense. Is it? Would you call it a dance drama format?
And the other characteristic for very very important feature of Kuchipudi is Kuchipudi's history. Rather, is that it is a dance drama form. It was a dance drama form 500 years ago, and it only in the past 70 years or so, because of my Guru Vempati Chinnasatyam, and his Guru Lakshmi Narayana Shastri, that who moved out of the village of Kuchipudi and into the larger metropolis city of Chennai, which used to be called Madras. And they incorporated not only women into the style, but they started developing the solo format for Kuchipudi. So today what we perform is largely the solo dance form, although the dance drama form is still very vibrant in India as well as here.
So in the current expression, is storytelling an important part still?
Extremely, yes, extremely. Storytelling continues to be an important part of Indian dance. I think dance in general is a medium of expression, and we could tell stories or express or communicate to our audiences through stories, but the dance form itself has enough in it. There is enough depth and complexity in the dance to communicate even secular themes or abstract themes through the form, which is,
fascinating. So your native language is Telugu, which is the context in which the form.
Yes, since I was born and brought up in Hyderabad, and I am a Telugu. So Kuchipudi seemed to be the most natural dance style for me to learn growing up.
Did you study from an early age?
Yes, I started early at the age of 8 in Hyderabad and continued throughout my schooling as well as college, and really never really gave it up. I never really thought I would make dance my career, but always danced because I loved to dance. And having moved to America right after I got married, I was extremely skeptical about being able to continue to dance, leave alone teach to the next generation of dancers this art form. And but today, 25 years later, I'm so deeply happy to find that not only Kuchipudi seems to be flourishing here in the United States, but there is a sense of connectedness that the dance students here feel to their heritage, through their learning of this dance. And just to briefly explain the most recent dance that we presented in celebration of our 25 years, we did a new work called Why We Dance. And the new work revolved around the feelings and the thoughts of the Kalanidhi dancers. And 4 basic themes emerged when I asked them the question as to why they dance. And one of them was their connection to their heritage. And the second was the sense of freedom and liberation from their mundane routine lives. The third was storytelling, which they felt for that period of time for them, time is suspended and they take their audience with them into the stories they tell through dance. And the fourth was the sense of community that they feel, and the most open and honest relationships that they have is with their fellow dancers, and how special that is. So I just felt those thoughts were so well articulated by the Kalanidhi dancers that we decided to develop work around those four concepts.
So you choreographed.
So I choreographed around those concepts.
Wonderful.
With completely traditional classical music, which was commissioned for this project. I went to India to get the music recorded, and we choreographed and presented it last week. And all of the dancers, we used their quotes as well as then showed the dance expressing those sentiments.
So were the quotes were said aloud, or
were said aloud?
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
We used the voices of the dancers.
Oh.
Yeah. So we've come a long way, I feel, with it's a dream come true to be able to bring Kuchipudi to the United States for me, and I truly and one of our certainly my vision and Kalanidhi's vision is to try and bring Indian dance, to put Indian dance alongside the mainstream dance in this country. I do believe it belongs there.
I think it does. I mean, it is an incredible classical form, beautiful, and very moving. Even, as you say, if a person is not well versed in Hindu mythology and the spiritual aspects and the stories, the narratives that out of which it comes.
Yeah, I think there's several layers of Indian dance. There's a lot of depth and complexity to it, and partly because of, I believe, the 2,000 years of evolution and refinement that this art form has had. But I also feel it's provides us as Indian dancers an opportunity to communicate some of the values that are reflected in the stories that we tell through Indian dance. Because Indian dance is not only communicating the stories, but it's also communicating the values of life, which is one of the purposes of Indian dance. And in our, again, most recent production, we tried to bring the meaning of what it is that we're trying to portray through our dance, through the use of the surtitles, where all the lyrics were translated. And so our audience had an opportunity to simultaneously, to lifetime, understand what it is that we are telling. Whether it be a story or whether it be shlokas or poetry from our written way back from 2,000 years ago. We took poems from the Natya Shastra and we presented that, and we had a translation at the same time. And so I do feel all of this helps bring Indian dance closer to our audiences here in America.
Sure. Can you give an example of the values that, or a shloka that would have something?
Yeah. For example, when we were trying to present to our audience the heritage aspect of our why we dance work, so some of the values that we try and teach through Indian dance is respect. Respect not only, and humility, respect and humility. And just in terms of how we begin each class with a namaskar, where we remember to offer our prayers or salutations to the gods, and then to our teachers, and it reflects in where we place our hands, when it's above our head, it's to the gods. When it's at our forehead, it's to our teachers, because they signify knowledge or the passing of knowledge. And then when we place our hands in front of our chest, it is offering our prayers or salutations to all of you in the audience, for example. And then we respect for Mother Earth. It's extremely important that we acknowledge Mother Earth for all her beauty and for what she offers us. And then we always start with doing a namaskar to Mother Earth before we beat upon her. And these are just they're simple gestures, but they have a lot of significance to them. And so it's teaching in this context, yes, Mother Earth and teachers and our gods, but it translates itself to, in our daily lives, we have to practice humility, we have to practice respect, and those are just some examples.
That's wonderful. No, that's very helpful. I'm curious to know how different your relationship with Vempati as a guru, as you were growing up, was what it was like to be in that classroom, and how it differs from your relationship with your students.
Yes, significantly different. Growing up in India, teachers, we kept, teachers were placed on a pedestal and highly respected. And of course, my guru was so knowledgeable. And but the big difference is, I feel growing up in India and learning dance from him was amazing, was an amazing experience to learn whatever he had to impart to me. But we were never encouraged to ask questions. We just had to be there and absorb everything that he had to give us. And coming to this country and teaching here, children here are not used to just taking what is given to them. So right from the very beginning, they would ask questions. And in the early years, it took a while for me. It was in retrospect the best thing that could have happened, because I learned so much more through having to answer those questions. I had to go back and understand the art form at a much deeper level in order to teach them and in order to answer their questions. So I think that was a big difference, where asking questions seemed to be the most natural thing for students in this country, and teaching them required that. And I didn't demand the same kind of relationship that I had with my guru from my students, in terms of them having to do the namaskar to me every time. I believed that if they felt the respect in their hearts, then it would show itself in their actions. And it took time, but over time, when they began to realize the value of their learning, it came from their heart rather than being told to do something, which is again a big difference in my teaching experience with my students.
So how old are the youngest who come to you?
The 6 years,
6.
six all the way to adult, but I like to start teaching students from a young age, because that's the best time to start.
And are they mostly born in the United States?
Oh yes, almost all of them. So they're which is why I feel which is why I was so surprised when I saw how connected they felt to this dance, because they haven't grown up in the same culture that I grew up in, but yet there is something in the art form itself that makes them connect to very deeply, and they have a passion for it, which is amazing for me to watch.
You can see it in the performance.
Which is why I am so committed to making sure that Kalanidhi continues beyond me, and for trying our level best to put Kuchipudi up there alongside other art forms, because it truly belongs alongside other art forms in this country today, I think. And the next generation of dancers are passionate enough about Kuchipudi that I hope they'll be able to take it forward.
Yeah. So in your teaching, do you have a range of ages? Do the young ones take a class with the older students? Or
No, I do separate them. I teach in very small groups because I feel dance is best taught in small groups. Kuchipudi is best taught in small groups. But I do offer what I call a common class or a combined class once a week, to which students of all levels are encouraged to attend. And the objective of that common class is for interaction between the juniors and the seniors, for the juniors to be inspired by the seniors, for them to see where they're working towards, what is the next level and what is the best level for them to get to. As well as the combined class allows for other things like stamina building, because it's a solid 2-hour session where all the fundamentals are reviewed. So my attempt was also to try and simulate the kind of classes I used to have back in India, where we had all ages come together at the same time. Oh, really? And everybody started together, and as the class became more and more complex, the younger ones sat down and watched the older dancers. And that was on an everyday basis. Here it's impossible to do that. Students have busy lives, students have busy routines, they have many other activities, and so they often come for this 1 hour a week, which is so secluded in a sense. They just learn their few steps and they have no idea of what else there is to Indian dance. So the combined class offers them a glimpse.
And then some of the students go on to have a final performance. Do they graduate?
Yeah, we have what's called a Ranga Pravesham. A Ranga Pravesham is, the literal meaning of Ranga Pravesham is entry to stage, entry onto stage. And it's a debut performance, a debut solo performance. And that usually requires years of practice because they have to present a 90 to 100-minute presentation of dance all alone, which requires a lot of training. And typically that takes 10 to 12 years of training before. And that's considered the basic requirement before you can go on to becoming a professional dancer, if you so choose to.
Do many of your students go on to pursue dance? Or how does it fit into their lives?
Yeah, so that was again a big surprise for me. I think a lot of students come up to that stage, they do their solo performance and then they move on. But to me, the surprising thing about Kalanidhi is a lot of my Kalanidhi dancers have done their Ranga Pravesham, but they've wanted to continue because some of them have gone away and come back. And so I do feel we've developed this community of dancers where there's something that's pulling them back to dance. And I've got a large number of my company dancers have come back after the solo Ranga Praveshams to join the company and to be with the company. And unfortunately, in the arts, we are unable to hire them on a full-time basis because we just can't afford to. But I do know if we can get to that point, I would have a group of dancers who would dedicate their lives to this. But we at Kalanidhi are working towards that. It is our goal to try and develop a core group at a core dance company, which we can support professionally.
That's admirable. Yeah. So how long has
Kalanidhi
been in existence?
25 years.
25
We've just
years.
had our
Yeah,
25th year celebration. Yeah, 91 is when I started Kuchipudi Kalanidhi.
And can you tell us, what does the word mean?
Kalanidhi. Kala is art and Nidhi is treasure.
Yeah.
So it's a treasure of art, treasure chest of art is the name. Yeah.
have you traveled with the group to India?
Yes, we did in 2007. There's a festival in India, in New Delhi, called Ananya Festival, which is presented every October in front of the Purana Killa, the Red Fort, one of the most prestigious dance festivals where only Indian dance groups dance companies from India are presented. So we felt extremely privileged and humbled when they invited us to present Kalanidhi dancers there and Kalanidhi work there. So we did that in 2007, and we made a tour out of it. We traveled to Kalakshetra in Chennai and presented there. Kalakshetra is the premier dance institute in India. And I went to my hometown, Hyderabad, and presented there. So that was also thrilling for me.
And for the students too.
And for the students
really
too.
Very, very.
It was an amazing experience for all of them. And one of the limiting factors for Kalanidhi today to tour is that we don't have we are not able to support dancers full time. And I do believe once we get to that stage, we can tour. Touring, we are unable to tour today because they all have other commitments. They're either in college or they're working. And being able to support them professionally would mean we can not only tour overseas, but we can tour within the country,
That would be
which we would love to do.
And I'm sure there are many communities who would welcome this.
Yeah,
Throughout the U.S. would be fascinated.
Yeah, because it takes a lot of time and effort to put a work together and to present it.
Yeah.
And then it's a bit of a shame that we're unable to tour with it.
You've also done some innovative work with musical forms that are very different from the Indian classical forms. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. It even it was in 2012 that we were approached by the artistic director of Opera Lafayette, Ryan Brown, to collaborate with him. And even before then, Kalanidhi, in Kalanidhi, we were always experimenting with different genres of music. And we would choreograph to Philip Glass, and we would choreograph to different forms of music. So there was this interest and to experiment with the different kinds of music. And we put out some of our videos on the web. And Ryan Brown saw a couple of our videos on the web and liked what he saw and contacted us. And that's how this opportunity came to us. And as a result of meeting with Ryan Brown, we ended up collaborating with him in 2 operas, which was a fabulous experience for us. We worked on a 19th century opera called Lala Rook and presented with his opera company in 2013, and then on a second opera work in 2014, which was based on Rameau's work. And both of them were fabulous experiences. The second work not only was a collaboration with the opera company, but he invited 2 other dance companies, a modern dance company as well as a Baroque dance company, and had the 3 dance companies work with each other. So it was a fabulous collaborative effort.
So dancing to Rameau.
So dancing to Rameau.
Amazing.
And interacting and choreographing with a modern dance company choreographer, as well as a Baroque dance company choreographer. So it was a really exciting collaboration. And I do believe we all pulled it off. It came out, we enjoyed it. We thoroughly learned a lot from each other and enjoyed the whole process of working together, working with each other. And I really hope that this opens up avenues not just for Kalanidhi but for Indian dance in this country to work with not only other musical forms but with other dance forms as well.
That's so exciting and
truly exciting.
It would be so easy to say, well, I don't think it would work, and yet It did.
It did, yes.
In amazing ways.
It did, because, yeah, ultimately I do believe music and dance are universal languages. And it is, and what better way to bridge the cultural gap?
Exactly.
Other than, music and dance. I think provides us a perfect opportunity to not only create artistic work, but to understand each other's cultures in this process.
So when the group traveled to India, was it mostly traditional classical Indian music that you danced to?
Yes. We took a work called Rasa, which was an exploration of the 9 moods as described in the Natya Shastra. But these 9 moods are universal to mankind. And so the experimentation in that work was to try and depict these 9 emotions with abstract Indian dance as opposed to storytelling. The traditional way to depict the 9 moods is to select, say, poetry, or to select stories in which that sentiment exists. But we did that, but in addition to that, we experimented with an abstract depiction of the 9 moods, and that was the work we took to India. So it was with to Indian music. We commissioned that work also, but it was an Indian composer.
So with facial, I mean, there's a lot of gesture.
A lot of gesture.
And hand mudras, and then also facial expressions.
Yeah,
you worked
so
with.
we have an entire language of gesture that forms a vocabulary of movement for us to tell our stories. And that's supplemented with facial expressions. Facial expressions is a key part of storytelling for us. We use the combination of the language of gesture as well as facial expressions. But in this work called Rasa, we did that, but we extended it to, so for say, let's take sadness, karunyam. We used a story to depict sadness, and then we continued the work by using just movement of the body to express sadness. And because as I said earlier, I do believe even just the movement of the body, the vocabulary of the actual entire body movement itself is very expressive. Besides having, in addition to that, the language of gesture and facial expressions.
So is there a difference in performing in India with an Indian audience who has some concept of the heritage of Kuchipudi as opposed to an audience here? And how is that as a performer and a choreographer? And
yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, for years I've struggled with this. It's always easier to dance in India because there's so much context, and the audience just gets it. They having been brought up in the same culture. Performing in America has been very challenging because there's so much that's lost. People don't understand the language of the poetry, of the lyrics. They don't understand necessarily the music itself. They don't understand the language of gesture. So it's a lot was lost. And so we tried to supplement our dance with extensive narratives or narration, just explaining each dance before dancing it, which helped somewhat.
Oh, I'm sure.
To some extent. And now, more recently, because we've experimented with surtitles, I think that's even more, brings Indian dance even closer. But I also do believe that we could bring Indian dance closer to our audiences just, without necessarily having to explain it extensively. But we've got to get there in terms of how we choreograph Indian dance, and there are ways to just enjoy it without necessarily having to spell it out. And I think it'll get there.
I could imagine surtitles could help, but they could also, in a way, come in the way of just responding.
So
to the artistry.
Yeah, so that is a struggle. That is a struggle, and I think surtitles should be used minimally and not too extensively, just to give context, as opposed to if it's overused, then the audience will be reading rather than watching, and so there has to be a fine balance, and that's all part of the learning process. I think.
That's fascinating. Could you speak a little bit about the jewelry and the makeup and the costume?
Yeah.
For performance. It's a very distinctive costume.
Yes, and that's largely because of where Indian dance originated. It was a temple dance form, and so it's pretty elaborate. The costuming and the ornamentation is quite elaborate, has always been, where the dancer was seen as a devadasi, or the dancer was dancing for the gods, and so was dressed in this fashion for that purpose. But and we've, to a large extent, continued that tradition of dressing, although in many more contemporary Indian dance works today, you see a lot of simplification to the ornamentation. And I think it adds to the dance form in certain contexts, but it's not critical. I do believe it's not critical. I do believe we ourselves, even at Kalanidhi, have, when we've presented dances which have more secular themes, which are more social themes, we've moved away from the very elaborate costuming and ornamentation, because it just doesn't go. It does go with the more traditional dancing, but not necessarily with the more social contextual dances that we present.
Do you have any young men who are studying with you?
This has been another big challenge. I've had several boys start learning dance, and one or two became excellent. But it's just tragic that all of my boy students give up in middle school. The social pressures are enormous, and it's tragic that they all give up. So no, I'm an all-female dance company as of today.
So in India, are there students?
Yes.
Are there male students?
Yes, there are, but still in a minority. But there are several male students, and they're beautiful to watch. I brought two male dancers for my production last weekend, from one from India and one from another part of the United States. It just adds, because there's a certain energy that male dancers bring to Indian dance that female dancers don't and can't.
Or together.
And together, we dance together, and it just adds a lot to the energy and to the dance. But no, I haven't been successful.
No, I can imagine that it would be very, very difficult. Has the dance form changed as it becomes more of a women's tradition? Or I just wonder, because it seems like a huge change. What did you say, in 75 years?
In 75 years, yes. I think it has changed. There is definitely more of the softer, graceful movements, that you see more of a predominance of the more graceful movements in our repertoire today. Although we haven't given up on the vibrancy. I mean, that's the beauty of Kuchipudi. It has very vibrant, dynamic, strong movement vocabulary, but at the same time it has this very graceful, soft movement as well. And it is the confluence of these two that make Kuchipudi special, I think. And and I think just because it's female practitioners, we perhaps, it looks slightly different today than it would have 75 years ago with an all-male dance form.
So the main gurus in India now, are they still male or are they also female?
Yeah, there's still a lot of male Kuchipudi gurus, interestingly. We do have female teachers as well, but still in the village of Kuchipudi, for example, today we have mostly male gurus.
Really?
Yeah,
I see. Very
mostly they're all male. Not to say that there aren't female teachers elsewhere in the country. Elsewhere in the country, in the cities, we have a lot of female gurus, but still in the heartland of Kuchipudi, it's all male dominated.
Interesting. So it was originally male dominated, where they performed as women. They performed in women's roles. Now it's reversed in a sense.
It is
in your school and in other contexts.
It is
where the young women are portraying
male characters. It's taken a full circle.
Yeah.
It has.
I understand that there are different strains of Kuchipudi that are currently taught. With Vempati, how would you characterize his distinctive expression of Kuchipudi dance?
Yeah, I think Vempati Chinnasatyam has definitely moved away from the style that he had learnt in the village of Kuchipudi.
Really?
Yeah, he was hugely influenced by the dance scene in Madras those days. He had moved to Chennai in the 50s, 1950s, and Bharatanatyam, there was a huge revival of Bharatanatyam in Madras. Or I keep interchanging Madras and Chennai because in the 50s, Madras, it was known as Madras. It's today known as Chennai. But and so there was a lot of excitement with the revival of Bharatanatyam in Madras, and so he got to see a lot of Bharatanatyam there in Madras and was influenced definitely by it. And I think that definitely changed his sense of aesthetics, and he also, by introducing women to the dance form, also the dance form did change a little bit, and he spent a lot of time in removing certain aspects of the dance drama form that he felt was not being received as well in Madras those days, and evolved the solo form in a way that was more appealing to the audiences in Madras. And so yes, Vempati Chinnasatyam's style of Kuchipudi is distinctly different from the other gurus' styles that you see even today, both in India and abroad. And it's very recognizable difference to the Indian classical dance aficionados. But to
How would you describe it?
So it's, I mean, it's much easier to describe it with a demonstration. But in words, I think, for example, he took away the whole spoken, the dialogues. So part of Kuchipudi tradition was to have the spoken word as part of the production. Dancers would not only come and sing on stage, but they would speak on stage. So it was very theatrical. So there would be a lot of drama as well as dance. They would speak as well as go and dance. So they would do both. And Vempati's significant intervention was to remove the spoken word almost completely. He would even if there was the spoken word as part of the production, it would be sung by a singer. It would not be recited or sung or spoken by the dancer. So that was definitely a big change. And he, some would say he refined the movements, others would argue against it. It depends on who you're talking to. And I think his primary contribution also has been to create solo work, which a lot of the other gurus have not. They've taken parts of the dance drama works and they present it as solos, but they have not independently choreographed solos.
I see.
I'm talking about in his time, not today. So that was a huge difference, where a lot of his body of work had new solo dances created by him to poetry that extended beyond the poems and the songs that were used traditionally in the Kuchipudi village. And he was the first Kuchipudi guru that also choreographed an entire dance drama that had a social theme to it and not a religious theme to it. He addressed the whole caste system, based his production on Rabindranath Tagore's work.
Really?
And so he had this incredible courage to and he singularly, I think, was responsible for bringing Kuchipudi out of the village, and made it popular around the world. He was immensely popular in his time. He took his productions around the world.
I see.
Yeah, Europe, America, Australia, everywhere. He was singularly responsible for popularizing Kuchipudi, I would say, in his time.
Because I was under the impression that for a while Kuchipudi had to really show that it was a classical art form and not
Exactly.
a folk form, which it certainly is not.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think Vempati Chinnasatyam contributed enormously to that legacy, and to fight for its place amongst the classical dances in India. Yeah.
Remarkable. Yeah.
But the spoken word is not is still, I think, a strong component of Kuchipudi today, and we not only Kuchipudi artists are finding ways to incorporate it into their productions, but other forms have adopted that as well. Now we see Bharatanatyam and other dance forms using the spoken word. And incorporating that as an element. And I don't see why not, because it is in the Natya Shastra. The Natya Shastra speaks about the 4 different kinds of expressions, being vachika, which is spoken, being ornamentation or costuming, being sattvika, which is more expression of the soul, and the expression through gesture. So they've outlined 4 different forms of expression. And so really, it's open to any classical Indian dance form to use these elements as part of their productions or performance.
So is that Telugu for your students? Or
not necessarily.
Are many of them Telugu speakers?
Yes, I have a lot of Telugu speakers, but I also have a lot of non-Telugu speakers amongst my students.
So the spoken word would be English?
Today it's English. It's English because that is the unifying language.
Of course, yeah.
And it doesn't, and I think it's fine because it's language that is used. It's a spoken word that's used. Which language that spoken word is in is almost irrelevant, as long as it helps to communicate to our audiences.
So you mentioned how Vempati sort of pushed the boundaries in terms of social issues. In a sense, you've also followed in his footsteps in that. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm sure it has impacted itself on me. In fact, one of my most favorite productions from all of his productions is Chandalika, which is the one with the social theme. Because I connected to it so deeply. And I always believed that the dance form has enough depth to it that it can communicate any concept, not necessarily just religious concepts. And so, yes, part of my personal objective and Kalanidhi's objective is to push the boundaries of the art form and to be able to make Kuchipudi more accessible to a wider and more diverse audience, and bring it closer to the people that we present Kuchipudi to. Yes, and then I think that's probably why from the very early stages of when the company was formed, we were constantly looking for ways to experiment with not only different forms of music, but even concepts. We did a couple of pieces on women's rights. We took music. Again, the music for that was very much Indian. It was an Indian album that was created around women's rights by a by a non-profit organization in India called Breakthrough. And it was just, it touched me so deeply that we wanted to experiment choreographing to that music. And so I think ultimately we need to use the art form to express what we feel and what we connect to in our hearts. So, and this art form, this dance style offers that vocabulary to us to express whatever it is we want to express, and to push boundaries and to bring it closer to our audience. Well, Am I repeating myself?
Well, I can imagine for the young women that this is very validating and very, very, very important in our culture today, now almost more than ever. Just seeking validity as women and what our role is and so this. Yeah, so
absolutely,
it's
and
admirable.
I think partly why Kalanidhi dance is able to draw its dancers back to it. They want to come back to it because they see that we are. They find it relevant to their lives. They are able to themselves experiment with themes that they connect to using Kuchipudi. In fact, one of my dancers has collaborated with a hip-hop artist, and she presented a project called the Naika Project. And it was an amazing collaboration where two completely different art forms, hip-hop and Kuchipudi, came together to explore the Naika. The Naika project was about the different types of women. You know, there are different types of women that has been described in great detail in the Natya Shastra. You know, the daring woman, the woman who is devious, or you know, there are different categories of women that were elaborated in the Natya Shastra. So Chitra, one of my company dancers, took this and this concept and collaborated with a hip-hop artist. Excellent. So this is great. Yeah. So I just feel that the next generation, it's endless. The potential and the possibilities are endless. And that is why it's so exciting for Kalanidhi dancers, that here we are at Kalanidhi trying to provide a platform for them to take off and to experiment and to find meaning through Kuchipudi,
and to make it their own,
to make it relevant, and that is the only way, I think, for this art form to survive and flourish in this new home.
Very exciting
that it's found. Yeah, that was a very tough time. We went through two tough periods in its history. And one was, in 98. 98 to 2002 was when my husband got a transfer to Indonesia, and I left for that, for the sake of the family. And at that time, we were just still very much a school, and it was still very tough, very hard to leave. And when I came back in 2002, I did not have any idea what I wanted to do, because I was a little older now in 2002, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to start with 6-year-olds all over again. And but my senior dancers came back and said, you don't have a choice. We are waiting for you to restart, and we need to come back to dance. And so I restarted in 2002. And I mean, Kuchipudi Kalanidhi was a non-profit organization that was incorporated in 91. And so that was not closed down, meaning we became inactive, but I just picked it up and restarted. In 2003 I restarted, and 2005 was when the company was formed with my senior dancers.
And what year did you first come to the Washington
I
area?
first came in 86. So I was informally teaching once a week at an Indian school, India school it was called, once a week from 87 onwards actually. But I incorporated Kalanidhi in 91.
91.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the future now that you've gotten your 25 celebration?
So, we have used the 25th year celebrations to kind of introspect as to what next for Kalanidhi, in a sense. And because we today have a group of very passionate dancers that are part of Kalanidhi, it's become our objective to try and make it self-sustaining, in a way that would allow them to continue to practice Kuchipudi and continue to teach it to the successive generations of dancers. So we have a very clear goal in mind. It's a very ambitious goal. We don't know if we definitely want to start on its path of creating a center for Kalanidhi where where Kuchipudi can be taught and new work can be created and presented. We plan to start on that process now, and we'll see where we get with it.
That's ambitious.
Very ambitious.
I mean, it's a wonderful goal, but I'm thinking of the atmosphere in the arts community sometimes that is not always supported as well as it really should be. And that's so it's a huge struggle and a challenge to continue with excellent art.
Right, it is. It is a huge challenge. We completely recognize how big a challenge it is, but we have to have a dream.
Of course.
And if we don't have the dream, we can't even begin working towards attaining the dream. And we have a passion and that passion is fueling that dream. And
that's
what
excellent.
the future holds for us, we don't know, but we certainly are going to put our energy and passion into working towards that dream.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. So now that the 25th is past, what are your next projects or performances?
Yeah, well, my board is now finally, coming back to the nitty-gritties. We recognize that we're a very small dance company, and we need to begin with have a business plan. We need to have an expanded and more diverse board of directors. And so we're working on very practical things like that more immediately. We've got a business plan that we've just put together. And in fact, I've got a meeting in 2 days that's talking about how do we expand the board. And the board's trying to help me to get to a stage where I can start affording to pay at least 3 to 4 dancers, so they're full-time with me.
Yeah.
And so even if we have a small core group, at least we have a core group that can that we can sustain, and then we can then do so much more with creating new work. Because being such a small dance company, I and the one or two others that are helping me do everything. We do all the administrative work, all the marketing work, the fundraising work, the logistics, the organization, the teaching and the creating. So it limits us enormously. And so even having 3-4 people would immediately free our time up to do more. And those are our immediate steps.
That's wonderful. Thinking as an archivist, are you preserving old video and recordings and so on of performances, and because it's so valuable.
I know.
And it's a huge. That's also a huge challenge, because the media needs to be digitized and preserved, and then
so unfortunately, you know, we do have a lot of video footage of early performances in the old VHS cassettes, very poor quality. And I have digitized them recently in the last year into the DVD format. But a lot of the resolution is lost even in that process. I was told that was not what I should have done. What I should have done is put it on a WAV format. But in any event, we've tried to save some of the early video footage. But more recently, we're doing better in terms of archiving our more recent work.
It's very valuable.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. I'm aware of it now.
But it is also quite difficult.
Yeah, because it's all costs again.
Yeah, and it needs to be maintained.
And maintained.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so our hope is also to expand our programming in the coming years. So far, we've been able to just do one show a year, one big show a year. And we perform a lot in the rest of the year, but mostly very small performances. And we take part in local festivals and community-based organized events. We do get invited to participate in other festivals in other cities, sometimes in New York, like the Raising Border Festival. So we do those kinds of performances, but Kalanidhi initiated programs have typically been once a year. So the board wants us to at least expand that to 2 times a year to begin with, because the minute it is Kalanidhi initiated performance, it requires a huge amount of investment in terms of money. And so that's another step towards expanding programming that's in our control.
Do the young dancers also perform?
Yes, a lot. I mean, the young dancers perform the most.
Wonderful.
Because every single community opportunity they get, they perform. So we send them out because that's how they become good dancers.
Yes, great.
And yeah, so we have a huge emphasis. One of my dancers has now, who's part of the staff, is now looks after the school aspect of things. So her main job is to get those little kids out to every community-based performance opportunity possible.
Excellent.
And so they are just becoming experienced in performance. And so when they join the company, they're already pretty comfortable on stage.
That's wonderful. I mean, and even if they don't become dancers, that experience is invaluable.
Is invaluable,
really. The confidence.
Exactly, it helps them in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I mean, the testimonials we have from students, parents, returning students, alumni are really amazing. What dance does for them, how deeply meaningful an experience. This whole 25th anniversary performance was an incredible experience because so many of our alumni came back from different parts of the country to be a part of it. And they've been flying back every weekend in the month of October just so they could do the group rehearsals in order to perform. And it was a very sentimental, nostalgic feeling after the show because they all were in tears, saying, "Thank you so much for including us, for thinking of inviting us." It's just reminding us all over again how special it is to be with other fellow dancers and dance on stage. And so it's heartwarming at many levels. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Is there something that you'd like to cover that I hadn't asked about?
Or your teachers, or history, or work with Ryan, or anyone else? Or you've done some interesting work with different composers, and had pieces commissioned pieces.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of that? What do you tell a composer when you're asking for something to be composed for you? You choreograph after the piece is composed.
Yes, yes.
So what do you?
After it's composed, but before it's recorded. So typically what happens is it starts with a concept. It starts with a concept, and sometimes the concept requires lyrics, so then poetry is written which revolves around that concept. And then I think at that's the stage where I have a rough sketch of how I visualize each of the scenes or each of those concepts. And so I write out the notes for each of those concepts, and that is what I take to the music composer. And if there are lyrics, I give him the lyrics, and if it's just a concept, an abstract concept, I give him the notes around that concept. And he creates the music, and it's usually just the raw score, and the raw score is like a piano track. It's if it's a flautist, if the music composer is a flautist, then he would create the raw score on a flute. And this last composer was a singer, so he just sang. His voice was the raw score, and based off of that raw score, we choreograph the whole work, and then I videotape that work, and I take it with me for the final recording, because the final recording has to be exactly fitting the choreography. And so it's quite a tedious process. It's quite an expensive process.
I'm sure.
So it's not easy to do new work very often, because first of all, it takes a lot of time. Secondly, it's very expensive to do it. And it's much easier to take music off of the net and choreograph to it. And that's possible for individual pieces. But when you want to put a whole thematic work together, this is the best way to do it. And that's why when collaborators like Ryan Brown come, it's such a luxury for us, because we don't have to worry about it's like handed to us. The music and the background notes, the concept is handed, and then it's just a question of choreographing to the music. Yeah, and Ryan has approached us for yet another collaboration, which we're exploring to present in 2018. And this is the first time it's going to be a work which has no opera singers. So it's going to be his orchestra playing to our dancers. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah. So this is like having an entire Western orchestra playing for Kuchipudi dancers.
Really?
It's an amazing opportunity.
Which genre is he going towards?
He's going to send me the detailed notes next week. He was waiting for my November 6th show to be finished. It's called The Enchanted Forest. Are you familiar with it? I have to read about it and learn more about it. I know very little right now. It's a short work. It's like a 30-minute work. But it's just the idea is exciting. But I must I'd like to say that I owe a huge, huge, huge debt to my guru, my teacher, Guru Vempati Chinnasatyam, for giving so generously his knowledge, and for being a role model for the passion that he had for the art form, and the way he spent his time, where dance and music and the art superseded everything else for him. So it's to walk in his footsteps is truly an honor for students of his, and I'm always ever grateful for being one of his students. And I think I consider myself lucky to have been his student, and I don't think I would have been able to do what I've done without his guidance.
Well, I love the combination of your passion for the tradition and your passion for innovation at the same time, which sounds like is both are his legacies.
Yes.
And I loved, I mean, when you were talking about the remote project with Brian, I just loved, among the other things, the minuets that were done with both the Baroque figures and the Kuchipudi figures at the same time, and how they beautifully work together.
I know.
Yeah, amazing.
I know, and that's where I credit Ryan Brown to even have a vision where he saw these three incredibly different dance forms coming together. I mean, and to be able to take that step, to invite three such diverse groups together and to have them work with each other. Just to take that step itself requires a man with a vision. And so we were all, didn't know what to make of it, but we were excited by the opportunity.
And, it's interesting to me that the both of you have absolute commitment to your art form and to the idea of trying new things. Because sometimes I think people will love an art form but feel like they have to change it in order to make it acceptable to somebody else. But the feeling that I get from both of you is that not only is it a complete commitment to the art forms that you have, but they will stand on their own and are strong enough to come forward and integrate with other kinds of art forms, and that people will come to them, come to the art. You don't have to.
Yeah, you've articulated it so beautifully. That's so true. That's absolutely true. It is that, and that is the real crux of I think what we do, and what we believe in, and that is the real challenge also. How do you stay true to the art form, because it is so beautiful, it has so much depth and complexity, and yet make it relevant to your audience, and that's where the innovation has to come into play, to be able to bring it to your audience. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Wow. Maybe I could speak to what dance means to me. Ultimately, I do feel, because I'm an Indian classical dance practitioner, for me, dance is very much part of the spiritual journey that I am going through as an individual, as I live life, and I feel the practice evolves as I mature. The dance evolves with me. And I feel that all of us in our lives are searching for something that's greater than ourselves, that's bigger than ourselves. And to me, dance provides that. Dance provides that vehicle to search for something that's bigger than oneself. It could be a goal, it could be the search for beauty, search for the truth, search for happiness, search for love. And I am eternally grateful that I've been given this vehicle, which is Kuchipudi and Indian classical dance, that helps me evolve as a person using the art form. And for that, I'm eternally grateful.
Well, Anuradha, this has been delightful and very meaningful to talk to you about your dancers, about your dance, your concept of the dance, the history. Fascinating. And it's an amazing life you've lived and continue to live with the innovation of bringing tradition, making it accessible to new audiences. Very exciting. So thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Really appreciate and really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about Kuchipudi and to bring it to a larger audience. Thank you so much.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.